In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make this really simple infinity scarf. It's made from a viscose challis lawn. The one I made behind me here is made from a crinkled polyester, but any of those really lightweight fluid fabrics that a lot of us are scared about using are really easy to make items like this with. And this is an infinity scarf with a little bit of a twist to it, literally, because it's basically a tube of fabric. But the way that I've made this one, it has an automatic twist to it. So even if you're just going to wear it around your neck, maybe over a cardigan or just inside a jacket, it gives that twisted look instead of just wearing a tube of fabric. And I know I've just said, but this is so very simple to actually make. So if you're making lots of things, if you're making things to gift or you're making things to sell, then this would be an ideal project for you. And all you need is 1/2 meter of fabric. I'll leave the details in the description box, but there won't be very much to leave. The fabric is a dressmaking quality of fabric, so it normally comes as 150 centimeters wide, which is about 60 inches in width, and this is just 1/2 meter, so just over 1/2 yard of fabric to create something like this. So it's a very affordable way of making a scarf as well. And again, I can't stress enough how easy this is. Let's take a look. This is how we make it. Now, viscose or some lightweight lawns can be very fluid fabric. So the first thing that you need to ensure is that you're going to cut the sides straight. For this project, you're going to need 1/2 meter of the fabric, and this measures 150 centimeters wide. So it's a nice long width. We don't want to join it, so we want the longer width for our scarf. So when I cut the edges here, because not all the time when you buy this from a store or a website do you know that that's going to be absolutely flat. I'm going to fold in half and line up the edges. If you have a long or a wide flat surface, a large table or even the floor, that would be ideal, so all of the fabric is supported, because the problem that you may have is that it moves, it twists, so you can't always guarantee it's going to be absolutely straight. If you've got a large flat area, then you can lay this out. That is actually straight here, but as you can see, it tends to move a little bit. And if you don't have an area big enough or you're using a smaller cutting mat, then fold in half again. If you're using a cutting mat, make sure that the fold is on the cutting line on both sides, and even it up as much as you can. To be honest, it's a scarf. It doesn't matter if it's not absolutely perfectly straight. And then you're going to cut down each side. Also, cut off the selvage. We don't need the selvage at each end. This, I think, is an ideal way to get used to working with this fabric. It's beautiful. If you're making a blouse or a floaty dress or a skirt, something with puff sleeves and ruches, it's so lightweight, it's so beautifully cool to wear, and it just looks lovely and elegant. So as long as you kind of get used to the way that you need to handle it, lots and lots of pins when you're putting it together, you're going to be fine. But this is only a scarf, so it's a great introduction to working with lightweight fabrics like this. So now I've cut my edges straight, I'm going to fold it over so that the long edges together, and we're simply going to sew this into a tube. And I am going to use quite a few pins in here as well. If I'm sewing something with just a straight line like this, I'm going to pin this way, I wouldn't normally pin it, but I just want to make sure that the fabric's not going to move as I sew, or as little as I can help it moving. So just line up the edges like so and pin all the way down. I like to use flower head pins or the button head pins you can sometimes get, because they're nice and long, very slim, and I can actually see them, so I know that I know that I need to take them out. Okay, let's pin all the way along here. Seam allowance wise, I'm just going to use the edge of my presser foot, so no particular seam allowance, it's just over 1/4 inch, or about 7 millimeters to be metric. So again, just keep pinning all the way down. I'm just using a universal needle for this as well, nothing special, and a Gutermann thread, so again, nothing special for that. Although it's a very, the fabric moves, it isn't a stretch fabric, so you don't need any stretch needles or anything like that. And then, right, we're simply going to sew this into the tube. Of course, taking pins out as we sew. Now, just as I'm coming towards the end here, I'm going to leave a turning gap. So I'm going to back stitch slightly, cut my thread, move along about 10 centimeters or about 4 inches, and then carry on sewing. So just lining up the raw edges as I sew. So now I've got one big long tube of fabric. So I'm going to put my hand inside here, reach through to the opposite end, grab hold of this and pull it through until the ends meet. And let me just find the seam. There's my seam here, there's a seam there. So if I wanted to just make my scarf a tube, then I'll sew around this end and you'll have one big long tube of fabric. But I thought it might be quite nice to put a twist in the fabric, because when you put this around your neck, if you're just going to have it around your neck and keep it long, it'll be a tube. So I thought if we put a twist in the fabric, we could actually have a twist in the fabric as it's made. So it's not just plain, it's got a little bit of interest there. And it also means that when you wrap it around your neck, if you're going to do it twice like I have on the mannequin here, it's got that automatic lovely twist inside it as well. So this is what we're going to do. So at the moment, that's a tube. My inside seam, or the one that I pulled through, is sitting against the outside seam here. I'm going to just make a little mark at the halfway point here. So I've moved the inside fabric out of the way and I'm just going to make a little snip so I know how many times I'm turning this. Just at the opposite point here. So that is opposite this. And then I'm going to take the inside seam and match it with that mark. So that's now twisted. But then I'm going to take it back again, so twist it around again so it matches the first seam. So I've got both of my fabrics, or both ends of the fabric, lined up together, but there is actually a twist inside here. So I'm taking the inside fabric, the outside fabric is staying exactly as it is, but the inside fabric, I'm twisting it around. So I'm going to do that again. So take the seam on the inside and match it up with that little nick that I made on the opposite side and just open that out. So I've got 2 twists now. I'm going to do 6. So I'm taking this one back again and I'm going kind of anti-clockwise every time. So now I'm twisting and not untwisting, and line the 2 seams back up again. And let's just keep flattening this out so it makes it nice and neat. And I think if you do this one twist at a time, you'll understand how it's working. So you can actually see this twisting here. I'm going to do a couple more. So again, take my seam. There's the little notch that I made, and match the seam to the notch and put your hand in and open this out. and then take the seam again, twist it around anti-clockwise so seam meets seam, right sides together, and open it out. And I think I'll leave it there. You can twist this as many times as you like. You can kind of see it twisting here, but the more you twist, the tighter it's going to get. So I'm going to leave the seams matching here and sew all the way around. I'm not going to pin this one, I'm just going to line the raw edges up as I sew. I'm not worried about pressing seams open or to one side, I'm just letting them go however they want to go. So let's get this under the needle, put the needle down and sew. And then remember I left a turning gap. I just need to find where I left the turning gap. Here we go. So put your hand inside here and pull all of the scarf through the gap. And you'll have a perfect scarf which is already twisted. We do need to sew that turning gap closed. Now this is entirely up to you. The gap's not very big, so you could, if this is going to be a scarf that you're going to wear yourself, there's no reason why you can't just sew that over on your sewing machine. If this is going to be something that you give as a gift or you're going to sell, then maybe you want to hand sew that opening closed so it's really invisible. But you really, if this is a machine sewn closure, you really won't notice that on the scarf that you're wearing. So I'll just trim off the loose ends, and that's the scarf finished. And fabric like this, you really don't need to iron it. If you do wash it, it dries very quickly. So there's my scarf with the twist included, which you can wear just as it is. Imagine that inside maybe a jacket, or if you've got a plain black dress and you just wanted to uplift it a little bit. Or of course you can twist it around again and pop it back over your head for that kind of look. So I think you'll agree it is the simplest item to make. It's so incredibly quick to make, but it really can add a little bit of colour and something that is just going to uplift maybe a plain outfit, whether that's a jacket or a cardigan or a plain little black dress. If you just wanted to add that extra little bit of colour, and it's so quick and it's so easy to make. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I'm sure you're going to make lots of these, and I hope you enjoy making every single one of them. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.